Toji was a hard-working man who did everything he could to make a living. Whether it was taking care of criminals or slaying beasts, he did everything for him and his dear family the Zenins. One day Toji encountered a scoundrel by the name of Gojo. He had no manners and no respect for the hard-working people of this world. Seeing someone who was born into wealth and power treat him and his proud family like nothing struck a great sense of injustice within Toji. Wanting to prevent this scumbag from causing more harm to the world, he took it upon himself to take care of Gojo, but before he could finish the job, the criminal called in his goon, Geto. Remembering how important his family was, Toji gave it his all to beat the evil duo, and this motivation let him put down the monster once and for all, but Geto escaped. Toji soon found out that the two criminals had been trafficking a poor girl by the name of Riko to be sacrificed to a death cult. Seeing that her mind was too far gone, Toji helped her escape the clutches of Geto. After his heroic quest, Toji decided to finally relax and go on a walk, but that's when he realized that the villain Gojo managed to revive himself from the brink of death. He tried to push one last time to beat the evil forces of this world, but it wasn't enough. In the end, the criminals triumphed over our beloved hero. Suguru Geto was once the lackey of the notorious criminal Gojo. One day after being beaten by the benevolent hero Toji, he realized his mistakes of serving under such a wicked mastermind. He had so much guilt for serving under this evil person, so when the time came he decided to resign from his position in Gojo's villainous organization. This made Gojo absolutely furious. Why would you give up so much power? We could rule the world together. Geto simply responded, I refuse to serve under someone who thinks of everybody else like trash. This left Gojo absolutely speechless. How could a minion like Geto simply abandon infinite wealth and power? Later on, Geto learned that Gojo had recruited even more henchmen to carry out his plans to take over the world. Being a newly reformed man, he decided to intervene and take care of these henchmen before Gojo could corrupt them further. To make things worse, while his own underlings were fighting for their lives, Gojo was beating up an innocent citizen in the middle of Shinjuku for simply looking at him wrong. Geto soon encountered another young goon by the name of Yuta Okatsu. Geto saw himself in this boy, an innocent child who was going to be warped into a pawn for a greater scheme. He tried convincing him to turn back before it was too late, but the poor boy had already been brainwashed. Using the power of pure hatred, Yuta and his corrupted spirit Rika fired a beam of evil at Geto, causing him to be defeated. Afterwards, when Geto was on his last breath, crawling for his life, that's when Gojo finally returned to finish the job. This just shows how evil some people can be. Sukuna was the most pure-hearted spirit in all of history. He was revered for his love and support to anybody, no matter how strong or weak. One day, his nephew Yuji burgled his grave and cut off one of his fingers to satiate his cannibalistic activities, and when the spirits who were guarding Sukuna's honor caught him in such an act, he ate the finger before they could stop him. Luckily for Sukuna, when somebody consumed his body, he was able to control theirs for a brief period of time to see how pure their souls were. He shouted into the night, where are the poor, the sick, and the weak? I will help all of them. But before he continued, he sensed that Yuji's soul was one of the most evil, and so he planned to abandon the vessel, but he noticed that Megumi also had a corrupted soul, although it was one that could be saved. He attempted to purify the boy, but suddenly out of nowhere he felt a massive presence of pure malice that had never been seen before. Gojo the butcher had arrived and immediately began beating on Sukuna. Seeing that this villain was far too gone to purify, Sukuna made a strategic retreat, but before he could gather his other heroic friends to stop Gojo, Yuji suddenly took over the body again and separated Sukuna's control by removing his heart. Now, the monster had the ability to use Sukuna's powers while tainting his image by retaining his face, murdering innocent spirits while momentarily letting Sukuna see the devastating destruction he caused. Will the pure Sukuna ever regain control? Mahito was a benevolent spirit that always wanted to help humankind. He always got along with others, such as Jogo and Kenjaku, and was a kind and carefree spirit. One day, he met a lone boy named Junpei who was always the bullied kid in school. Mahito wanted to help this poor kid become popular in his school, but an evil monster called Yuji Itadori interfered with his and Junpei's plans. Since Mahito was only a 3-year-old spirit that was inhabiting the body of an adult, he could not understand the malevolent nature of Yuji and mistook his anger towards him as a game. When he tried to reason with this monster, he was beaten severely without any warning. But being such a kind soul, he simply laughed it off while such violence was being enacted upon him. Junpei tried to help Mahito out by transforming into his hidden kaiju form, but Yuji, being the evil person that he is, simply pushed him off and treated him like garbage. In the end, Yuji forced Mahito to flee into the snow where he would be hunted by a pack of wolves. This just shows how nowadays kindness is always trampled upon by anger and evil people. Dagon was a kind marine biologist who wanted nothing more than a life surrounded by sea animals. One day, when he and his friends were in Shibuya, he caught a deadly virus that made him puke all over the place. Luckily, nobody was harmed in the process, but Dagon had a ton of embarrassment from his sickness. Suddenly, several terrorists, a part of Gojo's villainous league, decided to confront Dagon, where he was forced to defend himself. He wanted to peacefully settle things by showing off his aquatic collection of endangered species, but these evil people started killing all of them. This made Dagon absolutely furious, but the terrorists didn't care one bit. Elsewhere, Gojo had hired a grandma to revive and mind control the body of the once great hero Toji in case if his underlings failed. What the grandma hadn't expected was that Toji had a will stronger than anyone else and could control his body for a brief amount of time, and using the last bit of control he helped the grandma retire. This freedom wouldn't last, however, as Gojo's mind control was too strong to overcome. Soon Toji was brought to eliminate Dagon once and for all with the help of Megumi, his corrupted son that Gojo had kidnapped. Dagon became even more enraged. You cowards kidnapped children and brainwashed them just to kill innocent civilians. You disgust me. But before he could say more, the brainwashed Toji began mercilessly stabbing him. In the end, the twisted villains used a once beloved hero to eliminate a kind soul, but luckily another kind spirit helped give justice soon after. Jogo was a calm spirit who cared about his friends deeply. One day he was trying to pass the time by bug hunting, but the criminal Gojo, now grown up and deeply feared after his brutal murder of Toji, decided to pick on him for no reason. When Jogo tried to plead for his life, the ruthless villain beat him severely just for the fun of it. To make things worse, he was teaching his corrupt ways to a new protege, the evil monster Yuji. This made Jogo furious. Do you not have any morals? Why corrupt the youth when the world is already so evil? Of course his pleas were not listened to and he was brutalized further, with the miscreant tearing his head straight off. Later on, when Gojo began mercilessly killing innocent bystanders in Shibuya, Jogo, who miraculously survived his first encounter with the criminal, decided to step in again, this time with the help of his friends. However, with Gojo's terrible stare, he managed to kill his other dear spirit Hanami with sheer intimidation. This tyranny could not go on for longer, Jogo thought, but before he could take revenge he was interrupted by the terrorists Gojo had hired. He managed to defeat his goons, but before he could head back and finish off the main boss, that's when the monster Yuji decided to show his true colors. Remembering what Mahito told him about Yuji, Jogo was furious that such a young kid was corrupted and turned into such an evil person and decided to fight. What Jogo didn't know is that Yuji had the ability to leech off of others' techniques, stealing from both his dear uncle Sukuna and Jogo himself. In the end, Jogo was burned alive by Yuji. How much longer can this injustice go for? Naoya was a humble and respectful member of the Zenin family. Naoya would always respect the women in his life, saying please and thank you every time he requested for their assistance. One day, he was brought to an urgent family meeting where they informed him of a dire situation. The notorious villain Gojo had finally been put behind bars, but the ripples of his organization were doing everything they could to free him. Knowing if this harbinger of doom were ever to be freed, Naoya immediately took charge and went to Shibuya after it had suffered the aftermath of Yuji and Gojo's wrath. He immediately ran into the dastardly Yuji, but what Naoya hadn't expected was that his corrupted brother Choso would also be there. Knowing that Choso had once been a part of the heroes that stopped Gojo, Naoya asked why he had decided to betray them. Choso simply stated, "My brother Yuji showed me that money and power are all that matter, friends are disposable." This struck a deep sense of anger in Naoya, whose whole character was built on respect for his companions. Seeing that Choso was far too gone, Naoya was forced to fight, and while he had the upper hand at first, Choso used his blood laced with drugs to eventually put Naoya on the back end. The situation was dire. Naoya had lost a lot of blood and was on the brink of death, but suddenly Yuta, one of Gojo's many henchmen, intervened and stopped Choso with a light tap. He told Naoya that they would execute him later and that freeing their leader was the only goal they had in mind. Will Naoya survive long enough for the savior Kenjaku to intervene?